No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of AEW Dynamite for June 14th, 2023. We are on the road to the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. We had some build-up for that. A lot happened on this episode of Dynamite. So with that being said, let's get right into it. We kicked off the show with a world title eliminator match, basically a match to see if Adam Cole could get an opportunity at the AEW World Championship. It was Cole versus the AEW World Champion MJF. Now, right from the beginning, you knew something was up here because you had the announcement, the match 30-minute time limit, very clear that we could hear that. And also, they were really stalling in the beginning. They were milking the crowd. MJF went to the outside. He was going into the stands. He even went to a fan and flipped off his hat. MJF eventually got the upper hand using the ring skirt and then started smashing Adam Cole's arm into the steel steps. MJF started jerking Cole's arm, and that's all I'm going to say about that. He mocked HBK, Shawn Michaels' taunt. He went for the super kick like Shawn, tuning up the band, but Cole countered it with a super kick. MJF's mouth was busted open. Both of them ended up on the apron, and MJF gave Cole a tombstone power driver on the apron. MJF had the upper hand from this point. After a commercial break, he continued the offense. He called Adam Cole a nobody. He spit on him. Cole kept fighting back, though, and then MJF delivered the heat seeker pile driver. Cole kicked out of it. MJF started to get frustrated, so he placed Adam Cole on the timekeeper's table outside, went up to the top, delivered a flying elbow, crashing through the table. MJF got back in the ring. Adam Cole barely made the 10 count. He got back in the ring. And then the referee got knocked down as Cole was starting to get back into it. MJF was feeling desperate. He grabbed the AEW title from the ringside area, brought it in the ring, and pulled in Eddie Guerrero, threw it at Adam Cole, and then collapsed on the mat. The referee was getting up, but then fell back down. So Adam Cole decided to take advantage of the situation. He hit MJF with the championship, hit the boom knee, 1, 2, kick out in dramatic fashion. MJF just barely kicking out. The referee did the slow count. MJF still managed to kick out. And then Cole went for another boom knee, but MJF collapsed. And then MJF was grabbing at the referee and gave Cole a low blow while blocking the referee's vision. MJF then went for his Dynamite diamond ring, was going to use it, but the referee stopped him. Adam Cole took advantage, Panama Sunrise, and then hit the boom knee once again, went for the cover, 1, 2, and right before the 3 count, the bell rang. We had a 30-minute time limit draw, which, as I mentioned earlier, something was up from the beginning. Like, I figured when the match started and the way it was going, okay, these guys are going 30 minutes. It was well telegraphed. And normally, I'm not a big fan of time limit draws. I just don't like investing my time for a non-finish. In this case, I did like it, though. I did think they did a good job with it. And the reason is that they accomplished what they needed to accomplish. They established that Adam Cole was on the verge of beating MJF, and that's really the point of it, to set up the inevitable title match. But they did it in a way so MJF did not actually lose. Thus, you're protecting the champion, which is a good thing. You don't want the champion losing a bunch of non-title matches. And I actually don't think MJF has lost any non-title matches, but you protect the champion, but you get the point across that Adam Cole was going to win. So in that regard, I liked it. And then after the match, Adam Cole got on the mic and asked for 5 more minutes. MJF, of course, being the heel, backed out of the ring with his championship, did not accept that invitation. And there you go. MJF builds some heel heat, which he could really use at this point. Seems like he hasn't really been at the top level as far as heels go in recent months. But here he got some heat for backing out. And yeah, I thought the execution of this was well done. I usually don't like the time limit draws. I thought this one was better than the Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson one a couple of years ago, back in 2021 at the Grand Slam. Strong opening to the show, excellent match, and it makes you wonder, like, this was just on television. Imagine what these guys are going to do on a pay-per-view. Like, it was wild. It was definitely a pay-per-view quality match on free television, and they did build up for the rematch, which I expected anyways. Even if Adam Cole won, it would be the same outcome where he's earning an opportunity, and now he's got to continue to fight for it and somehow get it. And they can save this. You know, I think they're either going to have this at All In or All Out. One of those events. MJF's going to have some other stuff going on. More on that in a few moments. But by doing this finish too, you can do a little bit of a slower build-up. If Cole won here, then you're going to be like, okay, when's the match? Are they going to do it 2 months from now? With this finish, they could take their time. They can come back to it in a couple of weeks, maybe after Forbidden Door. So I think it was the right move to do the time limit draw this time. The only thing was maybe they shouldn't have stalled in the beginning, because that kind of gave away that it was going the 30 minutes. So moving on here, we had a CM Punk vignette showing him working out, and I guess he's going to say something on Collision this Saturday in Chicago. CM Punk will be back. Now, there's a video of the fans in the arena, and there were some boos for CM Punk. It was not, holy crap, CM Punk's coming back, CM Punk. Like, that just wasn't the case here. Now, we know Chicago is going to be a red-hot crowd for CM Punk. It's obvious. But elsewhere, how are fans going to react to him? Maybe after he shows up on Saturday and shows everybody he's back, and this is the real deal. This isn't BS. Maybe people will get invested in CM Punk again. We'll see. We had Renee Paquette in the ring, bringing out Sammy Guevara. He talked about being in this situation where he's at the highest of highs with the announcement of Ty Mello being pregnant, and then the lowest of lows, losing at Double or Nothing. But he vowed to have his kid and have the AEW World title. Now, this was interesting because he was out there doing a babyface promo, and the crowd was not really into it. There were some boos, and there were definitely what chants for him. And Mohammed says, please cover Collision. I will be recapping Collision. So real quick before we get to the rest of this segment, I'll do a quick plug here. Saturday night after Collision, I will be recapping the show. But during Collision, courtesy of the Jeff Meacham Network, there will be a live watch-along with the Jeff Meacham Network crew. That will be broadcasted on Jeff's channel as well as the No DQ channel. They will be discussing the show as it's happening. And then after the show is over, I will be on the live stream to give my thoughts for the debut of Collision. Jeff and I decided, since this is the first Collision, we might as well do something special for the first show. So Saturday night, you guys can tune in for the watch along, and then I will be on after Collision is over to give my thoughts. Now, back to Dynamite, and make sure you guys spread the word. Please spread the word about Collision and the No DQ live coverage of it with the watch along and my recap afterwards. You had Sammy Guevara doing his promo. He was interrupted by Darby Allin. And Darby said that it sounds like the fans are starting to love Sammy again. I'm guessing that was the not scripted line, but the line that they were going to use. He did not ad-lib because there wasn't really a great reaction for him. And he wanted to know, is Sammy Guevara standing on his own, or is he still with the Jericho Appreciation Society? And just as soon as he said that, Chris Jericho showed up. He wanted to know why Sammy never called him for help against MJF. Maybe if he did, Sammy would be the world champion. Sammy responded, he wanted to know why Jericho never called him about Adam Cole. Maybe if he did, Jericho would not have lost twice to Adam Cole. Jericho was very pissed off about this, and he demanded an apology. Guevara said he's not apologizing for shit. And then Jericho suggested maybe they team up one more time and Sammy can be reminded who the boss is. And then Darby Allin, with a little bit of trash talking, said that Jericho calls himself the Wizard, but when he steps in the ring, the magic is gone. Jericho said, what are you going to do? It's 2-on-1. And Darby said, well, he's not really alone. And that led to Sting showing up. Sting getting in the ring and confronting Chris Jericho. And the announcers made a big deal about this. I don't remember them ever crossing paths. So this appears to be a first. Jeff Meacham would know, I'm sure. I don't remember it personally. Sting and Chris Jericho. Jericho tweeted that he has no interest in feuding with Sting. This was a couple of days ago, obviously trolling everybody because here we go. We got the seeds planted for a match between them. Jericho had Floyd, his baseball bat, pointed it at Sting, just like what Sting did back in WCW. Sting pointed his back. Jericho left the ring. And I guess we got the tag match set up. Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin and Sting. That should be a lot of fun. And we had our 8-man tag team match. Now, before that, they showed a video of IWGP champion Sonata issuing an open challenge to anybody on the AEW roster. More on that in just a few moments. We had this 8-man match, Sting, Darby, Keith Lee, and Orange Cassidy versus the Mogul Embassy, Swerve Strickland's faction. They did not get an intro. So just like WWE, you kind of know how the match is going down when certain people don't even get an intro. It was an entertaining match. Embassy did get in some offense. Crowd was loving Sting. Sting doing the Stinger splash in the corner. And they got Sting out of the ring for a while. Keith Lee came in and started cleaning house. Keith Lee was over with the fans. This was a great crowd, too. Washington, D.C. was like an old school AEW crowd. They were hot for pretty much everything on this show. All 4 Embassy members worked together, and Swerve came off the top with a stomp to Lee, but the pin was broken up. Sting got back in. Orange Cassidy gave Brian Cage, who was wearing face paint like Sting. He looked like a mid-card 80s wrestler with the face paint. Looked like maybe Warlord and Barbarian of the Powers of Pain. Anyways, Orange punched a cage. Sting got the win with the Scorpion Death Drop. And it was entertaining for what it was. I mean, wasn't really expecting much, but it was fun. We had a promo from the Guns, the Ass Boys, backstage, and they challenged the Hardy Boys to a brothers versus brothers tag team match on next week's Dynamite, and it was officially set up. That will be next week. We had Wardlow versus Jake Hager for the TNT Championship. Jake Hager jumped Wardlow during Wardlow's entrance, and they brought up how this was the rubber match from these guys. They had a couple matches over the past few years. 2.0 was out there providing a distraction, and that's when Arn Anderson pulled out his gun, and it was actually his son Brock to make the save, and he attacked the Guns, sent them, or not the Guns, sent, I was thinking Arn Anderson with the gun. Brock attacked 2.0, sent them packing. Wardlow delivered the Swanton Bomb, pulled down the straps, and delivered 2 power bombs to defeat Jake Hager. Match was nothing special, but, you know, they're slowly starting to try and build up Wardlow again. After the match was over, Christian Cage and Luchasaurus were on the big screen. We had some audio issues, but they got it fixed. And the gist of this was that Luchasaurus has challenged Wardlow for the TNT Championship on the debut episode of Collision. And Christian said that Wardlow's new daddy will not be there to save him. And then they revealed that they had attacked Arn Anderson, and Arn was busted open from this attack. Guess Wardlow will be solo this coming Saturday. We had a video from Tanahashi. He came up short last year in his effort to win the AEW World title, but this year he wants another crack. He wants a shot at MJF and the world title. We cut to MJF in the backstage area, and he said no. He's not interested in facing a rinky-dink indie competitor in Japan. He said that he will perhaps no-show if Tony Khan even dares to book the match. But I think we're getting the match coming up at Forbidden Door. Would not shock me. That's what I'm expecting. We also had the New Japan Pro Wrestling Television Champion, Zack Sabre Jr., challenge Orange Cassidy to a match. And then Danny Garcia interrupted, and this led to a tag team match being set up for next week. Orange Cassidy and Shibata against Garcia and Zack Sabre Jr. So there you go, leading up to Forbidden Door. 9:15, 9:20. You know what time it is. It's time for the women's match. Skye Blue versus Toni Storm. Skye Blue had some early momentum, took down Ruby Soho, but Ruby Soho was out there making her presence felt, and Skye Blue's mom was at ringside. She gave them the L sign, and Toni sprayed her with that paint or whatever it is, and Skye Blue came through the middle rope with a dive onto both Toni and Ruby. Toni got the upper hand after the commercial break with Ruby's help. Toni tried to use the spray paint again on Skye, but Skye had some spray paint of her own and was on the verge of winning the match, but then Ruby Soho defeated the referee, distracted the referee, I should say. Skye gave a super kick to Ruby, but then Toni took advantage. Stupid baby face, Skye Blue, going after the person not in the match. And Toni Storm won with the Storm Zero. Or not the Storm Zero, the Cloverleaf. She won by submission. Skye did kick out of the Storm Zero, but then tapped out to the Cloverleaf. And then after the match, The attack continued on Skye, but then Willow Nightingale ran down and made the save, and it was announced that Willow will face Toni on the debut of Collision. Match was okay, but it was the usual Outcasts match with the interference. Pretty typical stuff here. Backstage, we had Jungle Boy Jack Perry along with Hook, Jungle Hook. They're back in full swing, but Jungle Boy still wants a singles title, and he issued a challenge to Sonata. He accepted Sonata's open challenge for Forbidden Door. And he asked Hook to be in his corner, and Hook gave him the fist bump. Anybody wondering if there's something up with this, that there might be some kind of angle here? But yeah, Jungle Boy going for the IWGP Championship, facing Sonata. And it's going to be a great match. And again, it might not be for you, Matthew, but this is the kind of match that the fans that bought tickets to this, the fans that are going to buy it on pay-per-view, this is a match they want to see. So it is set for Forbidden Door. I don't think it's meant to be for your casual audience. And Forbidden Door really isn't. Like, for everybody that criticizes it, it's a show for the hardcore AEW and New Japan fans. It's for them. It's not for your casual wrestling fans that might tune in every other week and they don't really follow internet wrestling news. This event is not for them. You got to keep that in mind. Jungle Boy, Sonata, they don't need build-up. It's just about two guys that can go out there and have a great match. That is what it is. That's what they're putting out there for that audience. So, I mean, I don't really have a problem with it personally. I mean, Forbidden Door is a show about just AEW guys, New Japan guys, going out there, having great matches. That's what it is. We had our main event of the evening, which was the Blackpool Combat Club versus The Elite with Bryan Danielson on commentary. Everybody started brawling right when the match started. We had stereo super kicks to the BCC. They brawled on the outside. Eventually, the Blackpool Combat Club got the upper hand for a while, but then the Elite made their comeback after the break. Things started to break down. It was back and forth with pin attempts, but in the end, we had the super kick party and then BTE trigger to Wheeler Yuta. Hangman Adam Page got the win with the buckshot lariat. Match was very good. But then we had a lot of stuff happening post-match. And this is what really felt like an old school Dynamite show, like from 2019, early 2020, a throwback to like the vintage Monday Nitro shows where it was just chaos at the end. You had the attack continuing, BCC beating down the Elite after they lost. And the announcers made a big deal how this was the first time in like a year that the BCC lost with Jon Moxley in the match. You had the BCC with their beatdown, but then Eddie Kingston made his return to Dynamite. Now, if you recall, he quit AEW a couple months ago and became exclusive to Ring of Honor, but then he was out of action for a while and looks like he's back on Dynamite. He came out there, went right after Claudio because of the history they have, which I'm happy about because I remember that Blood and Guts match last year and they teased the dissension with them and it never really went anywhere. So I'm glad that they're finally coming back to that. So Eddie Kingston was out there, but it almost felt like an afterthought because you had more people coming down. Takeshita ran out there to help the BCC. And they were teasing like Eddie Kingston and Claudio were or Eddie Kingston and Moxley, I should say. So this is interesting because obviously Eddie Kingston and Claudio have their issues, but remember, Eddie Kingston and Moxley were like best friends in AEW. City by the Bay, you got to tell me something positive about AEW. Otherwise, I'm convinced that you just hate watch. So you gotta go on the YouTube comments and tell us something you like about this show. I got to hear it from you. So anyways, Moxley and Claudio were having words, and then the Bucks took down Moxley, and Eddie pulled them away. Things got heated. We're wondering whose side is who on. But then, before you could even think about it, that's when Takeshita came out there, and Takeshita helped the BCC. Kenny Omega ran down, brawled with Takeshita. Crowd was going crazy for this. And then Will Ospreay showed up, laid out Kenny Omega, beat him down. And the show ended with Will Ospreay standing over the body of Kenny Omega. So yeah, a wild ending to the show with all the run-ins, people hitting the big moves. Like I said, it felt like a classic Dynamite. And you know, those classic Dynamites were kind of like a throwback to Monday Nitro or even an Attitude Era Raw, with all the people running down and all the big moves being hit. Just a feeling of chaos and things being out of control. So that was great. There you go. City by the Bay with a compliment. The New Japan stuff doesn't bother me. Like, it's a once a year thing, and it's a unique show. You only get it once a year, AEW versus New Japan. You get some fresh matches. You get a hot crowd. Like, I like it. I don't really have a problem with it. I know some people don't, and you know, I don't watch New Japan, so most of these guys I'm familiar with because of the stuff they've done in the United States. But yeah, I could still enjoy the show knowing that they're gonna have some great matches. All in all, I thought this was the best Dynamite in a very long time. One of the best Dynamites ever, perhaps. Excellent show. And, you know, big deal because they were in Washington, D.C., where the first Dynamite took place. I mean, definitely the type of show you needed with Collision coming up, getting people hyped up. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat, says, still think Kenny Omega and Ospreay might end in a draw. I don't think they should do that on a pay-per-view. Like, the thing is, at least with these time limit draws, they've happened on Dynamite. I'm not a fan of doing that on a pay-per-view, but they could do some kind of disputed finish to set up a rematch. Like, I feel that they might do the last match with them at All In. I mean, that would not surprise me at all. I give this show an A. Excellent Dynamite. Maybe the women's match was the only thing that brought it down because it was just the usual and the stupid babyface stuff. But yeah, I mean, opening match was excellent. You closed strongly, and the rest of the show was pretty entertaining. So yeah, definitely recommend this Dynamite and just enjoy it for what it is. You know, it's different from WWE, and that's a good thing. It's good to have a different vibe than WWE. And looking forward to Collision. They announced several matches for the show. Andrade will be back. He'll be back in action on Collision. Going to be a fun show. CM Punk, I'm curious as to what he's going to say. They did make it clear that he's going to be talking in addition to doing the match. And I'm hopeful they do a big angle. Like I said, I think that they really need something strong to get people talking. I don't know if they're going to do a heel turn in Chicago, but I hope they have something to get people talking for future shows and really create some buzz. So that's all I got to say about Dynamite. Check it out if you missed it. And another quick plug for Jeff. They're going to be doing match game after the Collision recap on Jeff's channel. So you guys could check that out. Of course, I'll be recapping Collision on the No DQ channel, and that will be right after good old JM and company do their live watch along of AEW Collision this coming Saturday night. Make sure you guys tune in for that, spread the word, and then Sunday we'll be back with the No DQ review. Building Next has sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Says, when do you think they will do CM Punk versus MJF? Again, I don't know how long this Adam Cole feud is going, but you know what they could do? They could do MJF versus Adam Cole at Wembley and then have CM Punk versus MJF at All Out in Chicago for the world title. That would be a hot match. And they could even build it up like CM Punk is the number one contender and he's going to fight either MJF or Adam Cole, depending on who wins the championship match. And that way you can guarantee that people are going to tune in for both shows. I mean, I think they will anyways, but you know, the pay-per-view All Out might be a hard sell with All In the week before, but they could put CM Punk there in Chicago, and I think you're going to get those pay-per-view buys. So maybe that's what they'll do. If not, I mean, that seems like the best place, right? As Jeff said, like that would be the place. CM Punk in Chicago challenging for the world title versus MJF. And you could do the Cole match at Wembley Stadium. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. Much love and appreciation to you all. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com. It's been a busy news day today. Head over to NoDQ.com for the latest wrestling news and rumors. Take it easy, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com, and I will see you all next time.